targeted for CEO of Superstore to help understand customer returns and their how to reduce the volume of return orders. Moving on to next slide. This is the executive summary and the summary of what next. Um, Now, moving on to the dashboard, this dashboard was created in order to understand the root cause of returns. For this chart, what we can see is that Western region, Western region has pretty high rate of returns as well as same day delivery, except for South region. And In terms of categories, all three categories have similar kind of rate of returns. Technology is the highest, but they are almost the same across all three categories. And in terms of subcategories, fasteners and machines have higher rate of returns, whereas fasteners they has lower sales value as well. And in terms of month, the return rates vary. As you can see, August, September, October, December, and February has higher rate of returns. You can change different filter options here to analyze different criteria, like to analyze how return rate flare with different combination of various factors here. Moving on to next slide now. So again, trying to understand the root cause based on geographical location. Again, we see that West region has a higher returns, and the sales there is pretty low pretty low. Now, same day delivery has the highest returns across all delivery method. Now, hovering over the states. We can see the returns for each like the delivery method for the state here in the inset. Now the lower chart shows the bar chart for return rates by state. You can change different reasons to see how the reason is in terms of return rates and sales, total sales. Moving on to next slide. This slide is to understand the sales and return correlation. We can see that in terms of subcategories, sales and return has a positive correlationship, but then there are multiple outliers, like fastener has a high return rate but low sales, as well as now sales, looking at sales, it has moderate return rate but higher sales. Now again, trying to understand the same correlationship between sales and return rate in terms of a city. It looks like most of the cities have sales between 0 to 50, but then their returns vary from 0 to 100%. So this chart doesn't show much of a correlationship between sales and fixed correlationship between sales and return rate. Moving on to next slide. Here what we see is that how different categories vary in return rate across months. You can select different categories here and then look at analyze the return rate. This is trying to understand how return rates as well as other metrics vary across the months. So here we're trying to suppose we're trying to see total sales. We see that for some month there is this correlationship between return rate and sales, but then for others, like here, there isn't much correlationship. Similar for profit and then discount. So yeah, there is correlationship with within like August, September, October, December, but not in other months. Now moving on to the next slide, we're trying to understand how the return rates of customers are. So it looks like some customers are just buying stuff and then returning everything, whereas there are other customers who are buying lots of products and then returning almost everything. So one thing that is quite interesting here is that when we have total profit here, for a customer who's returned everything, the total profit should have been 0, total sales should have been 0, but then that has not been reflected in the data, which is a limitation here. Now moving on to the next slide, just trying to understand, this slide just tries to understand how the total profit and total sales vary for subcategory. So here tables has a pretty much loss, but then their return rates were not that high, were of average kind. So in order to understand how a subcategory flares with like how return, um, in order to understand the bigger picture of subcategory, we need to understand them based on sales, profit, cost of returns, and then return rate. So um, uh, yeah, and now moving on to next, this is just some wordings on how returns can be measured different in different ways. um, and then this is the root cause of returns, which we already discussed. Now for the next steps that Superstore can approach is um, optimizing delivery methods. Like they can try to increase the subscription pricing, and also because standard class has highest sales, they can provide discounts to these customers. Optimizing return policies, charge for like limit free returns and charge for excess returns, as well as they can try to have customer engagement. When people are returning, they can ask for feedback on the product, and then send like personalized email just summarizing how many items they've returned, which can be a subtle way of uh, like warning that they are doing a lot of returns or something like that, and then having limitation on free returns. So they can try to understand how their product quality is. Also, like I said before, when you want to understand the bigger picture, you need to analyze. Superstore needs to analyze between sales, profit, cost of returns, and then include all rate of return, everything, like include everything. Not when certain products are being returned, that needs to be reflected in the profit and sales. So and then the other approach is that mixed approach between discount and return rates. If the return rate is pretty high, limit for the month, the return rates are high, they can limit the they can limit the to free returns. The number of free returns is when the demand is low, they can provide discounts or coupons to customer to boost sales. So in conclusion, this is the limitation, which is that which I already said before. And then assumption is that there is fee for subscriptions, and some delivery method does not have any subscription fee. So we understand from this analysis that Superstore is bleeding money on customer returns, and then they need to look for approaches to reduce the returns, and then they also need to make sure that their products are of good quality.